doing? Don here with Paleo Tracks. Today I'm going to share with you an awesome primitive living and survival resource that I utilize all the time. Let me tell you, it can definitely be a game changer in a pinch. So stick around, much to see. I know you'll enjoy. So, what is that survival resource? It's burlap. All right. Some people call it Hessian, which is, I think it's more of its native term, and it comes from the jute plant. Essentially, the jute plant is processed out where the fibrous materials from the jute plant are dried and gone through a variety of steps to essentially get those individual fibers that are then woven into cordage, and from that cordage you can get burlap sacks, you can get burlap textiles, almost like a fabric. You get nets, you can get simple cordage, you can get baskets, you can get everything and anything from that jute plant through that jute fiber into what most Americans and most people in Canada will call the burlap sack. Now, in these sacks, we have a couple different capabilities. The first capability is the ability to carry, and that's a great thing to have if you're living out in the bush, moving between camps, going from one camp to a hunting area. The ability to carry gives you almost more freedom of movement. Now, what can I carry in here? Whether it's personal gear, whether it's things I've harvested out in the environment that I want to move from one camp to the next, I can carry it in here. If I'm looking to gather up firewood, any sort of wild edibles, grasses, plants, whatever, I can carry it in this burlap sack. Now, why that's an advantage is because I can't carry all of those in my arms, maybe because they're too small or they're too big. With the burlap sack, I can do that. Another reason why burlap is such a awesome survival resource is that it has individual pieces of cordage. Now those cordages, those individual strands can be pulled from the sack just like this and can be used as they are, simply as this. If you want to reinforce them, that's where you start that reverse wrapping process. Now, another great reason to carry a burlap sack is these individual fibers, once they're removed from the sack, these are great for tinder. Now, another great reason to employ burlap or burlap sacks is its protection capability. Now, this clearly isn't something like an animal hide or an animal pelt or even a schmog, but what it does, it gives me a layer of protection. I could wrap something like this around my shoulders. If the sun's so intense and I'm burning my shoulders, this gives me another layer. If I was to take this burlap sack, which you can see is exceptionally large, and open it up, I now have an even larger piece of fabric. I could wrap this around my waist. I could do a variety of protection-based applications with it, from weather to ground to protecting maybe something I'm working with or trying to fabricate on the ground. So the protection aspect is endless as well. So another great reason for employing the burlap sack is you can use it as toilet paper. Yes, it might be a little bit abrasive, in its overall texture, but there's a variety of burlap sacks out there. Take them, rub them on your cheek. If it feels so abrasive on your cheek, it might feel a little abrasive on your bum, but it's biodegradable. If you're going to use this, to aid in your business for the most part, knowing that it's biodegradable makes it easy to use. So another reason why burlap is such a great survival resource is it's inexpensive. This one right here, this one right here is 59 cents. I got this one giant burlap sack for 59 cents at a local farm store. So another good practice when you're going to use a burlap sack for, let's say, tinder or for a cordage, is you want to start taking from the top and essentially work your way to the bottom. What you don't want to do is just start cutting into it and pulling it apart, because you want to try to maintain its integrity as a sack. So, bottom line, burlap sacks. It's definitely a game changer in an emergency situation, but it's also an enabler in one of those primitive living or survival situations or bushcraft situation. From the fibers inside to making tinder and cordage to the protection aspect to just the simple carrying capability, it's a great thing to have. It's a great thing to utilize whenever you are out in the wilds. They're easy to replace and it's not going to break the bank. And I know on this day and age, people like to have a lot of high speed and technical gear, but hey, keep it simple. This has more than one use. Identify those uses and get the job done. So again, thanks for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'll see you in the bush.